It's Friday, May 9th, 2025. Welcome to episode 153 of the Alameda Postcast, an audio service of the Alameda Post. I'm your host, Scott Peeler. In this edition of the Postcast, the CARE team is renewed, the Planning Board, and nuclear fusion. The Alameda Rent Program had a busy 2024, real estate, sales, and rules. An honor for some local boaters, another Post story picked up by San Francisco media, getting to WNBA games just got easier, new CHP cruisers might catch you, but not your eye. Plus, activities for your Mother's Day weekend, including an art show for a great cause. These stories and more on this episode of the Alameda Postcast. Our top story. As previewed in last week's episode, on Tuesday, City Council authorized a new agreement with Alameda Family Services to continue providing clinician and case management services for the Community Assessment, Response, and Engagement, or CARE team. The CARE team is a 24/7 mental health crisis response initiative launched in 2021 through a partnership between the Alameda Fire Department and AFS. It deploys trained paramedics and licensed clinicians to handle psychiatric emergencies and was the winner of the 2024 Alameda County EMS Program of the Year Award. In 2024, CARE received 1,332 calls, of which 86% were mental health related. Notably, 46% of mental health-related cases were resolved on-site, 28% were transported for further care, 8% involved psychiatric holds, and the remainder were either good intent or unable to locate cases. The largest age group served, 30 to 49 years old. Council members raised concerns regarding response delays, particularly related to library-related mental health incidents. Fire Chief Nick Luby responded that he met with Director Michael Eitner that morning to understand better how AFD and the library could work together to address the issues they're experiencing. Deputy Chief Cody Moxley noted, quote, "On average, on-scene time for each call is 43.7 minutes. If they're on a call and another call comes in, sometimes there is a delay," end quote. Chief Luby added, quote, "Many calls are not truly a crisis, but still involve individuals who need support," end quote. He cited one example of the library calling the CARE team when someone was in the bathroom for an extended time, raising concern. However, this did not qualify as a mental health crisis. The situation required a medical welfare check. After discussion, the council unanimously approved the contract renewal with AFS to continue providing CARE team support through 2028. Also on Tuesday, Council accepted the Social Service Human Relations Board work plan to improve services for people experiencing homelessness, create a welcoming city, and address domestic violence. Council also addressed the third-party food delivery services ordinance, which caps delivery fees at 15% of the food bill for services like DoorDash and Uber Eats. Originally a piece of pandemic-era legislation, the ordinance ended in February of 23 when California's state of emergency ended, but was reinstated in March of that year at the request of restaurateurs who were still struggling in the face of low in-person dining numbers. That part of the ordinance ended on May 1st of this year. Staff requested that the ordinance be readopted and extended by a year while they research the impact of food delivery service post-pandemic. Councilmember Tracy Jensen moved that the ordinance should be readopted without a sunset clause and that staff return in 1 year with the evaluation results and any suggested changes. That motion passed unanimously. Finally, Councilmember Tony Dasog made a request that a proposal to strengthen the city's protection for LGBTQ residents be scheduled as a future agenda item. After discussion that centered around the current national political climate and the need to work carefully, Mr. Dasog motioned for the city attorney to work with the city manager to suggest affirmative actions at a future meeting. The motion passed unanimously. Full details on Tuesday's meeting in Karen Jensen's article at alamedapost.com/news. Looking ahead, on May 12th, the Planning Board will host a public workshop on a research and development facility proposed by Pacific Fusion, which aims to build a 225,500 square foot headquarters at Alameda Point to advance pulsed magnetic inertial fusion technology. The facility, designed for testing, not power generation, would include an office, lab, and an R&D space housing a pulse system used to prove how to attain the conditions required to consistently produce more energy from the system than is required to run it. We've been talking about Pacific Fusion since episode 138 back in January. The facility would employ approximately 250 people and feature on-site improvements, including parking, loading dock, utility yard, and landscaping. Pacific Fusion is also considering Livermore as an alternative location. No approvals will be made at this meeting, solely a public workshop to discuss the proposed facility. Karen Jensen's got ways for you to get involved and get your questions answered. Look for her preview at alamedapost.com/news. In other city business, the City of Alameda Rent Program has published its annual report with data for the 2024 calendar year. Last year, the Rent Program successfully launched its first drive to collect annual registration statements for all fully regulated rental units in the city. As of January 1st this year, the Rent Program had received registrations for more than 80% of properties and fee payments for 86% of those properties. Under the rent ordinance, landlords who have not submitted an annual registration statement or paid program fees are not eligible to increase rent for any unit on the property in question. Program staff continues to work with landlords to help them come into compliance. In the first quarter of 2025, landlords registered an additional 70 properties and paid more than $130,000 in outstanding fees. For a look at other highlights and a link to the complete report, see alamedapost.com/news. On the subject of property, busy couple of weeks for real estate sales in Alameda as 30 homes changed hands from April 15th to May 5th. Highest sale price, $1,910,000, lowest $495,000. Of the 30 properties, 5 were on the market for a month or more, with 3 exceeding 2 months. Most properties stayed on the market for around 2 weeks. 22 of the properties above asking price, 6 below, and 2 at asking. As she does every 2 weeks, Liz Rush has the details at alamedapost.com/real-estate. While you're there, Liz has also taken the time to educate us on a topic that no one wants to talk about, but does come up. If you're selling a property, do you have to tell buyers that someone died in the house? The short answer, yes. In California, you must disclose a death if they occurred in the last 3 years, including natural deaths, accidents, and homicides. If a buyer asks directly if a death has occurred on the property, the agent must answer honestly. California is the only state that actually requires a recent death be disclosed. South Dakota and Alaska require realtors to disclose a violent death on the property. Connecticut, Delaware, Georgia, New Hampshire, New Jersey, and South Carolina only require it if somebody asks. For what it's worth, you don't have to disclose if your house is haunted. However, you do if you're selling in New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, or Minnesota. Liz walks you through the process and the ethics at alamedapost.com/real-estate. Congratulations to the Alameda Dragonflyers, our local dragon boat racing crew. You might have seen them practicing in the estuary. They'll be dipping their oars in the water of Venice, Italy, this June as part of the 49th annual Vogelonga Festival. The team will be among almost 8,000 participants in more than 2,000 boats. Details and pictures at alamedapost.com/features. Speaking of locals traveling, congrats to the folks at the Pacific Pinball Museum. They're headed to the Golden State Pinball Festival in Lodi next weekend, where they will present a lecture about their delightful Pointy People exhibit, highlighting their delightful display, focusing on the angular creations that adorned machines of the 1960s. Even closer to home, congratulations to our own Jean Chen. Last week on the Postcast, I shared her story about the Tesla takeover that wasn't at Alameda Point. That story was picked up by KRON Channel 4 in San Francisco. Always nice to get recognition from the folks across the bay. Speaking of getting across the bay, that got easier for fans of the expansion Golden State Valkyries of the WNBA. San Francisco Bay Ferry announced it will offer ferry service from Oakland and Alameda to the Chase Center for all home games during the Valkyries' inaugural season. Ferries will depart from Oakland and Alameda about an hour before tip-off and depart from the Pier 48 ferry dock 30 minutes after the final buzzer. Reservations are strongly encouraged. Details on the San Francisco Bay Ferry website. If you're driving rather than ferrying around the bay, be alert. California Highway Patrol has added some new cruisers. They're designed to blend in. V8-equipped Dodge Durangos with concealed police lights and color schemes that don't exactly scream cop car. Find the story at ktvu.com. Mother's Day weekend is upon us. If you're looking for something to do with mom or as a mom, Amanda Laird has you covered in this week's All Around Alameda column. Whether it's a road race, photography, scavenger hunt, or the inaugural queer prom, Amanda has all the details at alamedapost.com/alameda-life. I'd like to invite you to a little art show for a great cause. Christ Episcopal Church at Santa Clara and Grand, the host site for the Alameda Warming Shelter, has some talented artists in their congregation, and they're showcasing some great work in Let There Be Light, a celebration of the way art uplifts, inspires, and brings clarity to our world. Proceeds to benefit the Midway Women's Shelter. Opening night reception is tonight, May 9th, from 6 to 8 p.m. There will even be a live dance and light show to kick things off. There'll be hors d'oeuvres and beverages, your chance to add some amazing art, including some original pieces from local sculptors, photographers, and animators. And if you come to the opening reception, be sure to say hi when you grab a beverage. You might just recognize the bartender, or at least recognize his voice. Again, that's tonight, Friday, from 6 to 8 at Christ Church at Santa Clara and Grand. Thank you for your support of local news for Alameda. Show your support by heading to alamedapost.com/donate. Find us on all the social media channels. Find the Postcast wherever you get your podcasts, or simply tell your smart device to play the Alameda Postcast podcast. To all the moms, stepmoms, grandmoms, moms-in-law, and moms in fact, happy Mother's Day. I'm Scott Peeler, back next Friday with episode 154 of the Alameda Postcast.